We begin this day in gratitude. Gratitude for our practice community of meditators, spiritual practitioners. Gratitude for the progress we've each made toward our goal of awakening. For whatever set us on the path. Deep gratitude. Gratitude for this time spent in peace and meditation. May it illumine our mind, bring health to our body, bring joy to our heart, enliven our soul expression, and help us see clearly that all is spirit expressing. Bring to mind the billions of people around the world, knowing that we share the planet with billions of expressions of the One, each with their own individual experience. We wish them all health, happiness, and prosperity. Let's chant Om as we gently bring our attention back to being present with one another this day. And so it is. Last week we talked about the Yoga Sutras as they begin to describe the states of mind, or the colorings of mind, or the ways that mind can be, I like colored, by what the senses take in. As a means to having us come to full understanding of the first 4 sutras, which say that yoga is a cessation of the colorings of the mind or the turnings of the mind. Patanjali is such a good friend of ours and blesses us with saying, okay, so you wonder what the modifications or the turnings of the mind are? Well, here they are. And that is how the sutras go. Mention what the goal is, talk about what the obstacles are or the definitions of the goal, and then how to get there. Love it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So Patanjali lets us know that there are certain categories of mental states, 5 of them, and that they can either be helpful towards awakening or not so helpful, depending on the state of mind that we're in. Actually, the amount of surrender that we've achieved when we're in a particular state of mind makes it helpful or not helpful. The first, well, let me give you the 5. The 5 are direct perception or valid knowledge. There's many ways that is translated. It's also translated as sense perception, which means that we have a direct experience of something. You know, you see a lamp across the room, your eyes take in its form, and your mind reflects that form, and then consciousness says, that's a lamp. I'm seeing a lamp. one of the beautiful commentaries about this, and all these teachings ultimately come from even earlier teachings, but they're just expressed again for the time, the modern time, or the future time. So here we are sitting here in 2016 talking about these ancient teachings and applying them and restating them now in ways that we can understand, that apply to our culture and our understanding of the world, which is quite incredible when you think about it. So here I'm talking about a lamp, and back in the day there were not electric lamps. You know, it's I just like to think about the connection through time with the spiritual seekers back in the day sitting in a cave talking about mind and God and consciousness. And here we are talking about the same thing. So the five are direct perception, misperception, or misunderstanding, or false knowledge, which is when you see something and you mistake it for something else, or you hear something and you mistake it for something else. There's illusion, which is your mind is colored by a thought that has no basis in reality, no real form, no real solid reality, fantasy or illusion. And this is an interesting one, to think that it can be useful and it can be not so useful, because each one of these, you consider that they can be pure or impure, or tainted or untainted. Those are different ways that they've expressed it in different translations of the sutras. An illusion can be, you're faked out by something that you see in your mind that isn't even real, and it can, freak you out, or lead you into some action that is not based on reality and, takes you off the path. You can also have, let's say, a vision of God, or a vision of, an angel or something, which is, pretty much a mind creation, right? Let's say it is, right? But it can remind you of God and can lift you into a higher state of consciousness. So that's how illusion can be not useful if you take a human path on it and, get all messed up about it. Or it can be an illusion that reminds you of God. So, the two sides of the coin. Another mind state is sleep. We don't often really think of sleep as a mind state. We think of, when we're conscious, awake, and moving around, that we have states of mind, but the mind is placed in a state of complete inertia or dullness when we're asleep. It's almost as if the mind turns off, but consciousness is awake and witnessing the sleep. Consciousness doesn't go away, or you would never wake up, right? So this state of dullness is one of the three states that everything, there's only three states, not of mind, but of matter and energy. There's tamas guna, which is dullness or complete inertia. There's rajas guna, which is excited energy, super active, excited energy. And then there's sattva, which is the balancing or complete equilibrium, when everything is as it should be, in complete balance. So let's say rajas is on one end, tamas is on another extreme, right? And sattva is the balancing of the two, when things are in equilibrium, where there's no leaning toward excitement or leaning toward dullness, and you're in perfect balance or peace. So this state is when you have clear, bright, illumined mind. So that's about sleep. And then the next state or coloring of mind is memory, when you recall something that you've previously experienced, and your mind is colored by that recollection. And the sutras say that there's only those 5, really. Ultimately, you're in one of those. No matter what's going on in your mind, you're in one of those. And they're either helpful or not helpful. In contemplating the very first one, because we'll do that, which is direct perception or sense perception, there's a beautiful commentary. I think it's in Baba Hari Das's Blue Book, let's call it, the first pada, or the first section of the sutras, which we're in now, where he says, we must remember that consciousness that we have, the individual consciousness that we experience, is simply borrowed from supreme consciousness. It comes from a mingling of form and supreme consciousness. Therefore, we take this on, we have this borrowed consciousness from supreme consciousness that is mingled with our form, which allows us to experience the world. You know, the senses exist in us, they're mechanical or biological, and they can't do anything on their own without consciousness. If we're not conscious, we don't experience, right? So contemplate that at some time. Often it's said in the sutras that we are a mirror, or we are mirroring supreme consciousness when we use our individual consciousness. It's a reflection of the higher consciousness that we borrow or is lent to us in our form. There's another reason why they say that when we leave this body, we return to supreme consciousness, because it's only borrowed anyway while we're expressing in this individual body. So, you will agree with me that the Yoga Sutras take us really deep into the experience of ourselves, our mind, the world, how it's formed, how we even can conceive of things. And I find it very useful to study as many commentaries as I can. I always, like Pam says, I gotta vet them. But there are some really great explanations or expositions, or whatever you want to call them, on the meaning of Sanskrit words that help you understand what we are as human beings and what our potential is. So, that's what we're on today. I invite you to speak on whatever is on your heart, and if anything's come up from this discussion, please share it. It's very useful for all of us to hear what your thoughts are.